So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this WIOA Title 1B Quarterly Performance Office Hours for OET. My name is Kirsten Bayer with the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support at Illinois State University. I will be on for your facilitation today. So if you need any if you have any logistical questions following today's office hours, feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email where you can go ahead and ask me any questions, or you can feel free to type in the chat. We are on Zoom meeting today, so just wanted to let everyone know that we are recording today's office hours, and it will be posted on Illinois WorkNet as well as the Illinois Workforce Academy website that our center manages. And if you do have your cameras on today, just be mindful of keeping them on. We encourage you to have them on, but if you need to step away for any reason, please turn them off. So that way we know that you are no longer with us and had to step away for a phone call or to do something personal during today's office hours. Other than that, I will hand it off to Paula Berry to get us started. And again, I will be here for any technical questions.
Thank you, Kirsten. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our August quarterly performance office hours. Again, my name is Paula Berry, working in performance for OET, and Ray Alamine is joining us today. He will be looking at the chat for me. So if you have any questions, this is just a casual office hours with some updates today. I'm trying to share my screen. So we always start out with this poll, and it is, where is your local area? I don't have a poll set up, I don't believe, so you can just put it in the chat.
I have.
Oh, you do?
Yep. Let me see here. Where is your local area? There we go. They should be able to go ahead and answer that.
Thank you.
Are we doing the partner poll as well for Title I?
We could probably skip that because
all right. Looks like here's the results. Mostly people from, excuse me, Southern Illinois, but a good spread across the state.
Thank you, Kirsten. I already did the intros. So thanks everyone so much for joining us. Mark Burgess is usually here. He was double or triple booked today. So it is just Ray and myself. And to quickly go over the agenda for today, today it's about updates. We're wrapping up PY24 performance. So we're going to give a quick update on what's to come with Measurable Skills Gain, 24 assessments, performance negotiations, the eligible training provider list status updates, some end of year reporting notes, an update on IWDS 2.0 development, and some updates about our contact list since we lost Jim Potts, retired, and then time for questions. And knock on wood, I always say this and I'm wrong, but we shouldn't take your whole hour and a half today. Okay, so first on the one performance measure, adult dislocated worker and youth, this applies to all of them. So for measurable skills gains, we are getting a lot of questions, and there was a TEAGL that came out, 1016 change 3. They issued a third change to this. Oh, okay, I was getting it. So June 11th, 2024 is when DOL issued this. There's a whole section of MSGs, and this TEAGL change 3 updated MSG types. One big word that they added to this TEAGL is that it requires MSGs to be predetermined in career plans. So that should always be noted. If you need to support you and your staff on recording an MSG when in doubt, go back to their plans. And if it's there and it was predetermined, reasonableness says, it was a gain related to their program. So that is a question we get. Technical assistance is underway. We're planning it. I'm meeting with IWP tomorrow. We are working to finalize a cheat sheet that has been requested from most areas across the state. With that release, there will be a webinar, examples of source documentation, so everyone is getting really comfortable with documenting MSGs for their participants. DOL told us the other day they're going to be releasing a change 3 to another TEAGL. This is a data validation TEAGL. How that will help, maybe they're going to give us a little more insight on examples and things that we should be using to document MSGs. It's been a little gray. Some of that for MSGs, they've left some things to be desired on clarity in that, but we're going to work together to decide on this cheat sheet and what's reasonable for all of you to use to track these and report as many as we can. So when you go back and read TEAGL 1016 change 3, the whole thing is one of the best performance resources, right? But the MSG is what was updated as well as other stuff in change 3. What they did, and you'll notice, they added, so we have the EFL, Educational Functioning Level MSG. Well, they went ahead and threw some subtypes under that. So you will notice we still have, for anyone who's very new, this is new to you, but if you've been around a while, you'll remember the differences. So we still have the pre and post test gains. So when you document, when you give a pre-test and then a post-test shows an increase, bingo, that's an MSG, right? And that's calculated. It needs to be the same test, still the same. So under EFL, here's a couple new subtypes. Carnegie credits can be documented. And then another EFL type for someone, all these people, so they're not in post-secondary yet. We're talking secondary school, possibly in-school youth who haven't gone on to post-secondary, leading to a credential yet. So if they're not there, they're in secondary and they go into post-secondary, that's going to be a gain. Those are coming in IWDS 2.0. I don't have the programming capacity to get those added and drop downs and reports shifted. Seeing what's feasible for sure, so there's no confusion, but those will be coming later. What is new are, and you'll see this in the TEAGL under the EFL MSG, we get to count our GED tests and report them under the dropdown in the systems that's called skills progression. This is actually exams. So this isn't very, very new, but it comes up a lot. So if you have participants in GED, those tests, the individual components that are passed successfully, you get to count those as an MSG. So our need to know section is, again, career plan goals and objectives in that plan are key to finding and supporting and justifying all your MSGs. The credential record itself is not the MSG, right? It's a test or exam that led to that. So your license certifications, those shouldn't be put in as MSG. It's the test. Youth incentives, if your local area provides those don't always equate to or mean there was a skill gain. Guidance will be coming out on that in cheat sheet. When you see the word training milestones in your system where you report the MSG, start keeping in mind, this is progress reports also. 2.0, we're going to have new labels to make it easier, I hope. Skills progressions, these are actually exams and tests too. So when you think those, think exams and tests. So that's a quick update on MSGs until we get more in depth. And if there's any questions, you can put them in the chat or stop us, whatever you want. So moving on to wrapping up PY24 performance and how that will look with our assessments. WIOA has a new 10 training and employment notice.
Paula,
And
did you want me to go over that?
oh, sure, Ray, thank you.
I can.
Yeah, I was going to pass it off. I wasn't sure what we decided, but awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm still in the process of learning all of this, and so I got Paula there to back me up if I miss anything or get anything wrong. But this next slide is just going over, performance assessments, and I think as we all understand, performance assessments are a key part of how we measure success, in the WIOA programs. They help us to see what's working, identify areas for improvement, and guide our strategies just to better serve participants. Now, this slide, it highlights two major changes introduced by the 10, 01-25, to how Title I performance will be assessed starting in program year 2024. We're looking at the formal addition of measurable skill gains as a core indicator and the introduction of the statistical adjustment model at both the state and local levels for the first time. Just looking at an overview of the assessment, PY24 assessments will include all 6 core indicators, with MSGs now officially part of the performance framework. And the SAM model will be used to adjust performance targets based on participant characteristics and local economic conditions, and really just aiming for a more accurate and equitable evaluation. The assessment in regards to like a state level impact, the SAM will apply to adult, dislocated worker, and youth programs, helping really tailor expectations to the realities of each region's workforce and participants. From a local level impact, a revised policy is in development that will address updated performance indicators, new assessment procedures, and adjustments to sanctions and the appeals process. Behind the scenes, OET is, in collaboration with NIU and the local SAM working group in finalizing the SAM framework. And to test the model, simulated assessments using PY23 data will be run before, full implementation. Next steps for local boards will be once these simulated results are put together, they'll be shared with the boards in late 2025 for feedback. And a webinar will be put together and conducted that will walk through the model and support local areas in preparing for the PY24 assessments. Let's see if we could look at the next slide. Okay. So for PY24 and PY25, local performance negotiations will, they introduced a new local negotiation tool that uses predictive data to help set more informed targets. And the rollout of the SAM for both the state and the local performance brings a major shift in how outcomes will be evaluated. The SAM aims to support fair assessments by factoring in participant demographics and local conditions. Looking at PY24 local assessments will be released in early 2026, following the states will receive data from DOL, which I think is in between January and February. And as part of this transition, policy changes will include removing the overall program and overall indicator scores, and also updating sanctions for the first and third year unsuccessful performance. So, and to support implementation, a technical assistance webinar will be offered, once the revised policy is issued. So, this is just an early update, and more details and guidance will be coming soon, as the process, moves forward. So, I think next is the negotiations for 25 and 26 that Paula will introduce. Paula, I think you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. So thank you, Ray. And any questions? We're looking at the chat. So for state negotiations, we are already, believe it or not, looking at going into our PY 26-27 negotiations. So actually this fall for state negotiations, so when we go and check in with DOL Region 5 and negotiate our state goals, we're already looking at that data because we're about to pre-finalize some of our outcomes. So in November in 2025, OET needs to propose goals in a draft unified plan. So it's hard because we don't even have their assessment, they're proposed, but they want to accept those and then say that's what we have to negotiate on. So we'll be working on that. Then in December, IWIB will review and comment on our proposed goals. I recall it wasn't a lot of comments because unless something was extremely off or crazy, I don't think they will push back, and we will have support for what we're proposing. Then in January, we have to provide a public comment period. In March 26th, the unified stand with OET state proposed goals. As we know, what we negotiate trickles down to the LWIAs in some cases if data can support it. So all the LWIAs help support us. So side comment, I think we're going to be starting a process where we're asking local areas for information and insight they have on data and the measures and how that can help us negotiate. I'm not saying argue, data points that Mark and I haven't thought of that you see locally in your systems. So anyway, with that said, then late April, early June is when OET will conduct our Region 5 negotiations and finalize those on that call. Then we move on to local negotiations starting in October. Whoever was around for this in PY 24, was just last fall, we do those all in 1 month, several negotiations all in one day. Then in February through March of PY 2026, that's when you will finally see your local performance assessments from the local SAM. So your PY 24 data is getting wrapped up right now, but then we won't be able to get you your assessment until early 26 in this next new year because we have to wait on the feds to give us our assessment. Might not even happen until January of 2026. So if you get questions about this timeline, please reach back out because it's so far ahead. It does look, sometimes it confuses me, to be honest. So anyway, March and April of 2026, we will issue the local negotiation tool because we're required to hand you over a SAM tool to use for negotiations. May and August of 2026, we'll roll out all those webinars again, preparing you for when you come and meet with us and we all negotiate, answer tons of questions, anything anyone needs in that time. Then after that, we will have a slightly revised or updated written policy and guidance for you to follow on negotiations. This usually looks like when we negotiate, we need to negotiate on these factors. So we have some guidelines, like we try to make it as simple as possible. We will all know what we're going into again. And August 20, I think I already said this on the other slide, and I'm sorry, but August 2026 is when all the LWIAs will propose their goals to us. So there'll be a date where we require you to submit them. As LWIAs submit them, it'll probably be the same thing. That's when we start trying to schedule the sit down. So we're looking a year from now to know what to expect. Then in August through September, I know I said we did it all in October. It needs to be final by October. It's a big, big rule for the feds. So we conduct these throughout August and September of 2026. And we'll try to finalize them on the spot. And then there's a Q&A on all of these, if you would like to check that out, linked on this slide. So again, I know I mentioned that we negotiate in August, but that's in October, but that is not the case. Look at this slide. Don't listen to me. Sorry. Thanks. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. This is a good question. When do you anticipate the data for SAM needed from LWIA? Also, when are negotiations held? Okay. So when was that posted? The data for the SAM from LWIAs, that is essentially what you are giving us right now in your performance outcomes. So that's not really your responsibility. Everything you do in every local area that you report in the system of record, that's where we pull the data and hand it over. So it's essentially state data broken out by LWIAs that we already have. Oh, I'm so sorry. So you don't just hand us over a separate extra file that we use to produce the local SAMs to come up with that tool. It's already getting reported. So that every 2 years negotiations are held. We negotiate 2 years worth of targets every 2 years. And there's always questions, Pilar, that come up with that timeline, because with performance, you know that some measures seem like they're already coming to an end, but we handle that in our negotiations and rationale. So, okay, I think I'm caught up with questions. Okay. Yeah, just want to make that clear one more time. I said we negotiate in October. This October, all we're doing is finalizing preliminary PY 2024 outcomes, waiting on the assessment after we get the outcomes. So whatever you see right now, those are very preliminary, even once we run the annual, because we now have that assessment that could essentially adjust your target and shift where you land within your outcomes. So another reminder, moving on to eligible training provider list reminder. One thing we repeat a lot, I know, but when LWIA's staff are sitting down with participants and checking out Illinois WorkNet, which is essentially our training provider list, all the approved programs that we can fund, even though you know based on what you figured out with them and where they live, we must present this as a statewide ETPL. Regardless, we have to let you know that this training program way over here is on the list and it is okay for you to go there. It's a statewide list. It's all we have to say, and you check that box for compliance, right? Then moving on, we do realize that LWIBs have many reasons why they like to have a subset of the state ETPL because of occupations in their area, training, location, where the person lives. And that's completely fine. Just want a reminder, always go with the statewide first, because it's been findings and we know you all know, but we have to make sure we're okay there. So career planners, again, can identify all the different trainings, mainly to help the person, and then eventually the joint decision can be made. There's training provider and program reporting guidance that is forthcoming. We have a state policy that is pending DOL sign off still. And we were told the other day that Region 5 is waiting on that because they think that they're going to get some new information in an ICR. So when we say we're transitioning to a new ETPL policy, we're waiting to finalize our policy before we can do that. I know I work with some of the ETPL coordinators out there, so thank you very much for your patience. Okay, so update on, we sent an email just saying, okay, finalize all your transactions, please, because if we don't get it in the system now, it's essentially locked. The problem with IWD, it's not a problem. It's not really locked. So if Jeff runs the end of year PY 2024 performance on September 1st, essentially all the LWIAs and even in Career Connect, nothing is getting locked. You're going to be able to update participant information, right? The thing is there, it's missing the cutoff. So September 1st, we're going to let you put in missing credentials. We can revise an exit date, add MSGs, undo, redo services, things like that, right? But that stuff will be missed from 24 performance. So just for anyone to clarify any confusion on that, don't expect to see your system all locked out saying you can't update this for a person. It's going to take the update, save it, but we won't have it in 24, if that makes sense at all. I know confusion is not our friend, and I feel sometimes I can be confusing. Email, chat me, anything that doesn't make sense. So yes, PY 2024 reporting has been completed. That's Q4, not annual. I was just referring to our PY 24 annual report. So we do get a Q4 report, then one big annual, and that's what we have to submit in September of 25. Pilar, that is essentially what is fed through the layout for the feds and then winds up producing the SAM that becomes the assessment. So you already handed us that in theory. Okay. So yes, and I kind of just went over all this. We have to get all of your data to be as robust as possible. Essentially, it's your data. So we can only do a SAM evaluations with what everyone gives us through the systems. Services are a big one. Check on those. If anything you see needs revised, which means an exit needs removed, something added, let us know as soon as possible. I get it. We can help with that, as well as all your post-exit, your employment outcomes and all of that. And then Mark put on the slide for me, if it isn't reported, it didn't happen in the eyes of WIOA. Okay, moving on to, so any questions, I'll check for those. IWDS 2.0 system development updates. It's continuing. As a lot of you probably know, Local subject matter expert meetings are occurring weekly, as well as we at OET are participating in meetings weekly. Training, so a tentative deployment schedule is for July 1st of 2026. So next summer it's going to be big. We'll have that. Local negotiations. Then training will also begin in early 2026, of course, before it's deployed. There's a NOFO, a Notice of Funding Opportunity, will be forthcoming to support local train the trainer opportunities. And please look for this to be issued in the near future. Questions on that? I'm not as familiar with how exactly that will be handled, but just making sure you realize to look for that.
And Paul, I got a couple questions in the
Oh,
chat.
sure.
So first question, and this is just for clarity, but all data listed in the PowerPoint must be entered before August 29th. Is that correct?
Yes, please. So Jeff can run performance that following week. I think
Okay.
August 29th is a Friday. I think I made it the end of Friday, and performance will run, and then Jeff can run it that next week.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
And the second question is, when do we expect the PY24 Pearl data to be finalized with DOL?
So, good question. So when we submit like our submittal in September, they might give Jeff an extension to October, but we got to close it out. Unless they find errors or something erroneous, our submission from our system of record, which is IWDS, through WIPS, and when we certify it, they take that as final. So that's essentially their Pearl. Then what they do with it, then they provide the state a SAM. They take the federal SAM, run our data through their model, hand it back over in the form of our assessments. So then for every single indicator, after they take our Pearl data from October, put it through their SAM, they will assess us based on adjustments they find with their SAM model. Does that make sense? Then, as that one probably confusing timeline slide showed, so they'll be working on that from October all fall. They will hand us over the state level assessments for each of our indicators in January, we hope. And so what that looks like, measure by measure, they'll provide an analysis and a tool of pages, and we will look and say, oh, the state adult entered employment rate second quarter, we negotiated 81 based on the federal SAM. They adjusted our goal from our data up to 88. Then that's what we look at if we have one of those type adjustments, right? Then that's our new bar, and our ultimate assessment will come from that adjustment. However, that doesn't always happen. Also, if we think it's too high, we have a chance to say, what was this? What if we negotiated 81 and their model, because of all the participants or exiters in there, took us down to a 77, then that dictates our overall assessment of met or not met, or it could even move us to an exceed. And then there's even a threshold there, right? Because we're at 50, you have a 70% threshold. So is that answering your question at all, Carly? To answer your real question, sorry, the Pearl is going to be finalized when we certify it to DOL in October.
October. Okay. All right. Thanks, Paula.
Yeah. Yeah, the Pearl data is finalized then, but nothing's really final until they assess it. Okay. Okay, so for the last bit of info for today is eligibility questions on WIOA eligibility, adult dislocated worker and youth, and IWDS contact update list. So this is actually useful if you keep anything or print anything. Jim Potts did retire July 30th, 2025. So Mark created this to list out everyone who you can contact on that. And Ray and Mark are thankfully handling those questions. Again, performance comes to me, copy Mark Burgess, any measures, any issues with the system. Chris Tylen also for outages. Dodal, demand occupation, and ONET. We have an inbox for that. And then if you go ahead and CC Mark to alert him. Again, yeah, Chris is for all the outages, and copy Mark and I just so we're aware. He handles Do It, though, working with IT to get them fixed. Eligible training provider and program. So for the ETPL, please always send it to the general one. I know that we haven't done that a lot in the past, but now that we have a lot of registered apprenticeships we're handling, and in some cases out of state and online only questions. So please send it there and always CC Mark and I. And we're getting better about checking this inbox. And then for anything else, it's Mark and I, as always. And then with that, and if no other questions, oh, we do have something, a little update. So the next quarterly performance office hours, I think there was a little bit of a shift here. So if you save the other announcement, it's actually going to be on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025 from 1 to 2:30. And then we updated 2026 somehow. I think it was a shift in the weeks or something, or maybe the months, the quarterly month. So now it's going to be February, May, August, November. Hopefully those agendas will be a little more robust and informative than just a bunch of updates. But we just took this opportunity to let you know we're working on some stuff I know I need to do. But anyway, I think that's it. And once again, I think we have all our questions.
All right, are we ready to go ahead and close out for today?
Okay. Bye, everyone. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Bye,
take care.
Paula.
Thank you.
Bye, Ramon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.